Field in New York. The New York Mets play the Colorado Rockies. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get your HD free with IOTV. And once good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Ralph Kiner, and Kevin Burkhardt. Join me shortly as the Mets get set to play the rubber game of their three-game series with the Colorado Rockies. But for the last 14 hours, the focus for the Mets has been away from the field. Last night, following the Mets' 6-2 loss to the Rockies, Mets closer Francisco Rodriguez was arrested by police here at Citi Field after an incident in which he is alleged to have assaulted his father-in-law in the family room just outside the Mets clubhouse. Whether the Mets will have Francisco Rodriguez at any time in the near future is very much an open question. For more on the story and the latest, let's go down to the field to Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Well, Gary was here last night as this whole thing developed, and basically what happened is this. Francisco Rodriguez, after the game was over, after a visit to the trainer's table, went to the family room, which was down the hall from the Mets clubhouse, and, there met with his family, his wife, and apparently, from what I was told, had a little bit of an argument with his wife. At that time, Frankie Rodriguez, his father-in-law, kind of got involved in the argument, and then there was an altercation between the two. He did damage enough where Frankie's father-in-law was taken by ambulance about 11 o'clock from Citi Field to a local hospital to treat those injuries. After that time, Frankie had gone back to the Mets clubhouse, and that's when he had lashed out at a couple of reporters, myself included, just being asked to talk about the fact that he didn't get into the game last night and pitch in that 4-out save situation. Frankie cleaned up, left. Security and police officers came through the clubhouse, back behind closed doors where we couldn't see, where he was escorted to the police station, which is actually here in Citi Field. Now, Frankie today was scheduled to be arraigned on third-degree assault charges in Queens Criminal Court. That has not yet happened. He's not yet arrived at the courthouse, so that is to be taking place later this afternoon. And, Gary, as far as I know now, Frankie Rodriguez could actually still be here being detained by police in Citi Field, but no comment from police right now on that. So third-degree assault charges coming for Frankie Rodriguez, and that's the situation from last night. Let's go back upstairs to you.
So this is very much still a developing story as to how it's going to affect the Mets in terms of Frankie Rodriguez, whether he has a future with the Mets immediately or in the future. But for the moment, the Mets are without their closer and short one man, and teams go through these things from time to time. This one may be a little bit different, but you get a feeling that it's got to have some kind of impact in that clubhouse.
Well, it definitely affects the people in the clubhouse. You're embarrassed for yourself, and your teammates are embarrassed for you and now by you. And I think one of the things that's really bad about this, in Kevin's report, that it affects other players' wives and families. And whenever that happens, that becomes an embarrassing thing for them. It's a nuisance for them to have to address it to people like us, the media, and they just would really get it over with. You can rally around a team that's struggling hitting. You can rally around a team that's struggling pitching, but it's hard to rally around one of your best players when he's assaulted an older family member.
So the Mets, who have got plenty of problems on the field, now have a problem to deal with off the field as well. They've got a game to play today against the Colorado Rockies, so they'll have their ace, Johan Santana, on the mound, trying to back off what was a great performance his last time out in Philly. Come on back. We'll be with you all day. AT&T Rethink Possible. By Frostbrewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. By Parts Authority, the future of auto parts. By Toyota, there are many reasons to buy a Toyota, and now's the perfect time to get yours during Toyota's National Clearance Event. And by Game Time, the leader in licensed sports watches. In the continuing effort to support research to find a cure, Stand Up to Cancer and MLB.com have partnered to create a unique opportunity for you to personally dedicate a virtual piece of Citi Field to someone touched by this disease. Go to MLB.com/standupstadiums and join together to strike out cancer. Here's your Suzuki around the majors. The Arizona Diamondbacks tied a major league record. Adam LaRoche, Miguel Montero, Mark Reynolds, Stephen Drew, 4 consecutive home runs in an 8-2 win over Milwaukee. Roy Oswalt got his first win as a Philly in his first start at Citizens Bank Park as a Philly. 7 scoreless innings and a 2-0 win over the Dodgers. And the Orioles keep on rolling. Brad Bergeson, a complete game 2-hitter. The Orioles now 8-1 under Buck Showalter. The Mets and the Rockies, Johan Santana. First pitch coming right up. Fowler is a strike from Johan Santana, and we're underway. Johan bidding for his 10th victory of the season, coming off a brilliant performance in Philadelphia last Saturday.
Here's Verizon numbers for Johan Santana this year. Got his 9th win in Philadelphia in his last start. 14 times he's gone to the hill and given up 1 earned run or less.
1-1 to Fowler, who's 1 for 9 in this series. Hitting at .240 on the year. Switch hitter, much better right-hand hitter than left. And getting to bat right-handed again today against Santana, who's pitching on normal rest today, albeit a little shorter with a noontime start. Good changeup by Johan. 2-2.
I gave you that number 14 times. 1 earned run or less. Team record's 19 by Dwight Gooden in 1985.
It's within range.
Yeah, absolutely. 24 wins aren't, though.
And a full count to Fowler with Ryan Spilborghs and Carlos Gonzalez to follow. in the opening inning for the Rockies, who rallied last night to beat the Mets 6-2, kept them 5 games back in the wild card chase. 3-2, and the changeup strikes out Fowler for the first out of the afternoon. So 1 away. Here's your Ford starting lineup for the Rockies today. Day off for Todd Helton at 36 years of age. Day game after a night game. And so Melvin Mora, who had the big hit last night, a grand slam in the 8th inning off Manny Acosta, moves over to play first base today. Ryan Spilborg sitting second in the order, 1 for 3 in this series, and he swings and misses at the fastball, 0-1. Spilborg's at 272. He started about half the games for Colorado this year. And Johan paints the inside edge, 0-2.
Boy, that fastball down and in is the key always to Santana's success.
Carlos Gonzalez, whom the Mets have held in check in this series, waiting on deck. And a swing and a miss. Back-to-back strikeouts for Santana to start the afternoon. 2 away. Well, with all the attention surrounding Francisco Rodriguez, the media has flooded the area here, waiting to get a glimpse of K-Rod if he's let out of the detention cell out in center field here at Citi Field. The Mets have just announced that K-Rod has been placed on the restricted list for 2 days, which means that he will not be paid for those 2 days, and he can be replaced on the roster. And Ryota Igarashi is on his way to Citi Field and should be here fairly soon and available to pitch today. So K-Rod on the restricted list for 2 days. And my feeling about that, Ronnie, is that the Mets basically with that are buying some time.
Yes. See what their options are going to be if and after the arraignment happens.
Carlos Gonzalez leading the National League in batting, hitting at .323, and he lifts one in foul ground. Hessman coming over toward the dugout, but he runs out of room.
Well, here's the Lexus Mets defense. Martinez in left field, Pagan in right, flanked with Beltran. Hessman gets a start in front of right today, gets the day off. Reyes, Tejada, Davis, and Josh Thole, his first time catching in a game. Johan Santana.
David Wright sitting down today. You hate to do that when your team is basically desperate at this point in the season, but things are going so poorly for David right now. I don't think Jerry had any choice.
You need sometimes more of a mental rest than even a physical rest.
Santana ahead 0-2 on Gonzalez, who's 1 for 8 in this series. And he misses high, a ball and 2 strikes. Gonzalez leading the league in hitting, 6th in home runs, 4th in runs batted in, 2nd in base hits, just having a phenomenal year. Troy Tulowitzki on deck. And Gonzalez gets out ahead of it. Still 1-2. Carlos Gonzalez, known to the world as Cargo, known to his teammates as Little Pony. Well, you got El Caballo,
that's
Carlos
right.
Lee, he's the horse, and Carlos Gonzalez, Little Pony. Maybe it fits. Maybe a big pony before too long.
I was going to say, it doesn't seem like anything he does is little in nature.
24 years old and just starting to blossom as a star in this league. After being traded twice, originally signed with Arizona, traded first for Dan Herron and then for Matt Holliday. Here's the 1-2. In there for a call, strike 3. And Santana strikes out the side in the opening inning. Up come the Mets. against Jason Hamill, making his 21st start of the year. And Reyes, who bunted his way on to start the first inning last night, bluffing the bunt. As you take a look at Hamill.
This is Jason's first full year in Colorado. Came up through the Tampa Bay system. Started 28 times for the Tampa Bay Rays.
Bull just fouled. The Mets lit up Hamill the only time they faced him. In fact, he squared off against Santana last July here at Citi Field. But of the Mets who faced him that day, there's only one in the lineup today, and that's Pagan, who had a couple of at-bats against Hamill. Everybody else facing him for the first time.
Like I said, this is his first year with the Colorado. Of course it's not. It's his second year. Last year he won 10 games with that rotation that they had 5 winners of 10 or more games. De La Rosa, Marquis, Jimenez, and Cook.
Fernando Martinez on deck, and then Angel Pagan for the Mets in the opening inning. And Reyes fists one down to third. In comes the third baseman, and Reyes is safe. Ian Stewart unable to throw on Reyes, who's aboard with an infield hit.
Well, Stewart got to it nicely. Good throw, but you just can't get Reyes, especially coming out of that left side of the box. Easy infield hit. Even on a slow track, got a bit of rain this morning.
And perhaps more on the way as the afternoon progresses. There's Fernando Martinez making his third start since being called up. 2 hits and 7 at-bats. Had a good day at the plate. The opening game of this series was on base 3 times with a walk, a single, and a hit by pitch. Made a nice play in left field to boot. Reyes with 21 steals, and Hamill generally easy to run on. 13 stolen bases and 16 tries against him. He's very slow to the plate.
Well, very tall, long-legged pitcher. Takes him a while to deliver that ball to the plate. Has a little bit of a slide step, but doesn't use it as much.
Stolen base rate has certainly slowed down for Reyes ever since that oblique injury. I don't know whether those two things are related. Not going, and the pitch inside. 2-0 to Martinez.
You know, the only way I would see that they're related, Gary, is that on his slide, he likes to slide head first, and that leaves that area vulnerable.
See how the infield is watered down, but that lead area is dry. Is that by design?
If it is, it's not on the other side of the third base bag, so I think it is by design. You know, it's great stories of grounds crew guys making sure that the field is proper for the home team, and the Mets use their speed.
2-0. Reyes running. The pitch low. Olivo's throw is not there. And Reyes has a stolen base. His 22nd of the year.
Got a good jump, not a great jump, but watch how long it takes Olivo to deliver this baseball. Doesn't get a good handle on it. One hop, no chance of getting Reyes. There's that head first slide we were talking about. Ball just touches, nicks a bit of the leather of the glove of Clint Barmas.
So runner in scoring position, a 3-0 count to Martinez as the Mets, who got 2 in the first last night, look to get on the board early. 3-1 to Fernando with Angel Pagan to follow. Fernando Martinez, now 21 years old. Mets signed him when he was 16, and there have been great hopes for him from the day that he signed. He had a difficult tenure with the Mets last year when he was up for a month or so. Hit just 176, wound up hurting his knee and missing the rest of the year.
Yeah, he simply was overmatched last season, but he doesn't look like that so far early.
He talked a lot last year about how his hips were locked when he swung. It looks like he's a little freer now.
A little free and easy. Reyes has got to be aware of Tulowitzki, who's behind him, who was thinking of maybe putting on a play.
Say not getting too far away. And Fernando pops it up. Into foul ground comes Mora with Olivo, and Mora finally makes the play. Olivo said, I had it. You didn't have to come all that way. It's the first out. Reyes holds it second.
Well, you usually don't see a first baseman come this far.
him up, and also doesn't usually play first base.
Doesn't usually play first base, and you told me how good of an outfielder he is, so anything in the air he's going to get.
So here's Pagan, who hit the 2-run homer last night that accounted for all the Mets scoring. Mets had just 3 hits last night. After the first inning last night, the Mets had 1 base runner over the final 8 innings, a single by Henry Blanco. The last 15 Mets were retired, and at one point, 7 consecutive Mets struck out, which tied a dubious club record. Mets had a game in 1972 at Jerry Park in Montreal, and they had a game in 1970 at Shea against the Reds in which they struck out 7 straight times.
Not dubious for the Rockies. It was a team record for them.
Yep. They had never had more than 5 in a row. Of course, the Mets had Tom Seaver strike out 10 in a row all by himself.
Pulled toward the hole, base hit. Here comes Reyes around third. Reyes trots in with the first run of the game. Angel Pagan gets the Mets on the board early again, 1-0 New York.
Well, 2 days ago, Jerry Manuel said Angel Pagan might be our best third-place hitter. 2-run home run last night in the first inning, and here with a big base hit. When you have a pitcher that throws a breaking ball or changeup with that big hole between first and second, nice drive by Mora. Prime time for a base hit. Pagan got it.
53 RBIs for Pagan, who began the day 3rd in the National League, hitting with runners in scoring position. Adds to that with an RBI hit. And now Ike Davis back in the cleanup spot where he spent a good portion of the first half of the season. But with the return of Carlos Beltran at the All-Star break, this is only the 3rd time since the break that Ike has hit cleanup.
Make the argument as Beltran on deck that the Mets played their best baseball with Ike Davis in that cleanup spot.
Mets are 8-17 since the All-Star break and are hitting just .212 as a team, averaging 3 runs per game. Now, they had begun to slow down offensively before the All-Star break, but they have really hit a brick wall since coming back from the break.
Ike hits one in the air to deep right field. Back goes Spilmore's got turned around. Back near the wall. He can't get to it. And it hops over the fence for a ground rule double. That'll cost the Mets a run. Pagan would have scored easily from first base, but he'll have to go back to third. A long double for Ike Davis, his 21st of the year.
Well, you had the call right, Gary. Took a circuitous route to this baseball that Spilborg and doesn't have the speed to make up for that mistake. Pagan read it pretty nice off the bat. 3/4 the way. Of course, he turns, and he has unbelievable speed. And if they hadn't gone out of the ballpark, easily would have scored. Our IOTV pitch differential trying to come inside is Hamill. Leaves that ball right over the middle of the plate. Belt high.
So now Beltran bats with 2 in scoring position, hitting 5th in the order. The infield back with the Mets already up by a run. Very interesting with Santana pitching that Jim Tracy would concede another run here. The way his team has struggled to hit on the road.
And the way that Beltran has been struggling.
That too. Beltran lifts one to left. Pagan tagging at third. Gonzalez moves over to grab it. Pagan comes on home with the 2nd run of the inning. Sacrifice fly for Carlos Beltran. 2-0 New York. Well, Beltran picks up his 8th run batted in.
Well, picture perfect here by Pagan. The ball in the air. You always go back to the base. And you've got Chip Hale, who's going to the runner at second base. Doesn't have to worry about Pagan in that speed. Chip Hale holding the runner at second.
So Davis remains there with 2 outs. So for the 2nd straight game, the Mets have put up a 2 spot in the opening inning as Beltran gets the run home. And now Mike Hessman getting the start at third base today with David Wright mired in a deep batting slump. Hessman making his 5th start since being called up. The minor league home run king takes a breaking ball for a strike. Hessman 3 for 18 with a homer and 5 RBIs.
You know, no one has outworked these Mets. They're here early every single day taking extra batting practice. Because of the rain, no BP today. Might turn the trick. Something different.
Make it high, and it's 1-1. Well, David Wright getting the day off to try and clear his head and find his way out of the weeds. David is 2 for his last 33, and last night was about as troubling a game as he's had in a long time, facing the kind of pitcher who usually tears apart in Jeff Francis, who struck him out 3 times in a row. Esman pops one up to shallow right, and Spilborn's coming on. Side retired, but the Mets put up a 2-spot in the opening inning. Pagan and Beltran with RBIs. Ralph Kiner joins us as we go to the second inning with the Mets up 2-0. Your trip today at Amtrak.com. Well, we mentioned earlier that the Mets have announced that they have placed Francisco Rodriguez on the restricted list in the wake of his arrest last night for assault. And there is now a statement, a brief one, from Mets COO Jeff Wilpon as Troy Tulowitzki leads off the second inning with a base hit. So Tulowitzki, first base runner against Santana. Here's the quote. Ownership and the organization are very disappointed in Francisco's inappropriate behavior, and we take this matter very seriously, unquote. That from Mets Chief Operating Officer Jeff Wilpon. So Frankie's been placed on the restricted list for 2 days, won't be paid, and will be replaced on the roster by Ryota Igarashi, and I guess stay tuned from there. Here's Melvin Mora, who had the big blow last night in the Rockies' 5-run 8th inning, a grand slam off Manny Acosta that turned a 2-1 Met lead into a 5-2 Rockies lead. And Melvin takes ball 1. And Ralph Kiner joins us in the booth. Ralph, welcome to the ballpark.
Well, and welcome to the excitement right here at the ballpark. Something new has taken place.
Well,
pretty sad.
It's not the first time that ball players have found themselves in trouble.
And won't be the last.
I think what really differentiates this one is that it happened in the ballpark in front of so many people, including other players, families, wives, and kids. And, you know, I don't know what difference that's going to make in the ultimate disposition of it, but I know that for the players in the clubhouse, there's got to be some kind of a different feel to it.
Well, Ralph, you were there. You know, in 1986, 4 of the Mets, including myself, spent the night in jail ourselves over kind of a barroom brawl type deal. And I will tell you, you will just feel so embarrassed for yourself, your family, embarrassed the entire organization. It's just an awful thing to do to your teammates. It's a different incident than the one that has happened to Francisco Rodriguez, but just as embarrassing. And your teammates on that team probably reacted a little differently than the teammates here are going to react because the families were involved. That team was on its way to 108 games. They made kind of a joke about it. But I'll tell you, with the legal issues and returning to Houston a half dozen times that year, well, I never forgot it. I'll tell you that just an embarrassing incident, and he just felt awful. This one is a little different, but equally as embarrassing.
Warren hits one out to center, and Beltran's got it for the first out.
I was put in jail one time, and it was I was a little kid. I was about 14 years old, and I was playing baseball in the schoolyard, and I was breaking windows out in left field, and they were home runs, as a fact. And this game put me in jail, and the police chief read me Casey at the bat and let me go. But that was a little bit easier, yeah. I wonder if, to this day, I wonder if that police chief when he read that poem of Casey at the bat, famous poem, that he recognized that I made the major leagues. Wow. I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm sure he must have followed your career.
So if you're a sports agent, you just follow around kids that break windows. If they're breaking windows, they're going to be home run hitters.
Yeah, but you got to make sure the windows are in fair territory.
Miguel Olivo, the hitter. And he swings and misses the changeup. Santana's got a really good one early in this game. By the way, Santana striking out the side in the first inning. The second Met pitcher to do that this year. Mike Pelfrey struck out the side against the Nationals back on May the 12th in the first inning. And by the way, by strike out the side, I mean face 3 batters in the inning and strike them all out.
It's one of your many pet peeves.
I mean, you get these innings when a team scores 4 runs and the pitcher strikes out 3 in the inning and they say he struck out the side. Well, no, he didn't.
I used to always talk about Sid Fernandez. I said he'll strike out the side every inning. It just takes 9 or 10 hitters.
Olivo down swinging on the changeup. Yeah, that's 4 early strikeouts for Santana.
Well, this is the best changeup I've seen him have all season long. Not only does he have the good pace off of his fastball, about 10 or 12 miles an hour difference, but he's got that nice action going away and down from the right-handed hitters.
And the one thing about the strikeouts, they've been, all but one have been swinging. And one thing you got to do with the people, with a person like Joanne, is the fact that you have to learn as a hitter to take that pitch unless it's for strike 3. If you're looking fastball or looking curve, you got to look that way and take the changeup.
From a hitter's standpoint, Ralph, I mean, I know that you can read spin on a breaking ball, but can you tell the difference out of a pitcher's hand based on spin between a fastball and a changeup?
Well, of course, changeup is usually not spinning at all because it's usually a palm bar or whatever like that, but you really can't tell the difference. It's arm speed, and it looks like a fastball. And, of course, you're out in front, and you swing before the ball gets there.
I will argue that sometimes when he has the good changeup, Santana gives the appearance that his arm speed is more on his changeup than it is on his fastball.
Well, you could pick that up, though, Ron. I mean, that's something else as a hitter that you should do in the on-deck circle.
Stewart bloops one into shallow left center. That falls for a hit. Tulowitzki able to go first to third. And so the Rockies have runners at the corners with 2 down. So Stewart has his 3rd hit in 5 at-bats in this series.
Well, this ball, a lucky hit. That's all you can talk about that. Right here you see the no spin on the ball as it comes to the plate. He's out in front, and he just sort of flips at the ball with the bat, and that's a base hit. They all count.
So the number 8 hitter Clint Varmus comes to bat with the tying runs on base. Varmus 1 for 7 in this series, hitting a .250 on the year. And a first pitch changeup.
Well, other than Rivera in the American League, Mariano, who repeats his motion seemingly every single time, Santana to me is a close second. And that's what gives him the ability to throw an entire game, usually with just a fastball and a changeup. You never know what's coming by the way he approaches the plate.
By the way, did you see the bounce back performance by Rivera last night after losing the night before? Leadoff triple, and strands the runner at third to preserve a 1-run win. He's the best.
He's got to be the best of all time. I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of good ones. He is consistently.
For the modern day game and the way they use closers now, he's by far the best. It's hard, though, to compare him to Gossage and Fingers and Sparky Lyle and Suter and those guys.
Wisenberry.
Well, the thing that's amazing about him is that you know what's coming.
Yeah, that's right.
And you still can't. If the pitch that he throws and it's a pitch that doesn't move much and maybe goes about 3 or 4 inches down and out.
It's like the Audubon cutter, Ralph. It just changes lanes when it gets up to about 90 miles an hour.
Right from Germany.
That's right.
2-1 to Barmes, and the changeup is popped up. Tejada with the angle toward the line, and the side retired. So Santana works around a couple of hits, and the Mets hold a 2-0 lead. Mets come up against Jason Hamill with Josh Thole to lead off. Only riding a 5-game hitting streak, 7 for 17 over that stretch, and hitting at .323 for the year. Interesting today, Thole catching Santana for the first time in his career. Came up last September after Santana was done for the year, and this is his first time catching Johan this season, although he caught him during spring training. It's got to be a little different experience for him.
Well, I think that in an interesting way, you're both professionals. You're both on the same team. You both wear the same uniform. But there's a little bit of idolatry when you're a young player and you're catching a pitcher, a Cy Young pitcher like Johan Santana.
On the outside corner, and Thole down looking for the first out.
Well, the one thing about catching a pitcher, it really doesn't mean that much. It's just a psychological thing. Pitcher knows what he wants to do, especially if he's a veteran. And he's going to shake him off if he doesn't call for the right pitch. And someone like Santana knows exactly what he's going to do. So whatever he puts down, the changeup for a fastball, he's basically a 2-strike pitcher. And that's the main thing that Santana's going to do what he wants.
Well, you make a good point, Ralph, is that he throws so few sliders that he's got to be 50% right every time he puts down a sign or close.
Yeah, that's pretty good. He cuts it down from 33.
There you go.
So far, he's getting it right. Here's Ruben Tejada. Tejada looking for his first hit since returning from the minor leagues. He's gone 0 for 11 since his recall. And if you go back to his previous stint with the Mets, he's 0 for his last 17 in the Major League.
Very interesting watching Jason Hamill pitch. If some of you fans from the Midwest can remember a Milwaukee Brewer, Bill Wegman. Jason Hamill looks exactly like Wegman, a tall right-hander, kind of flips the ball up there, sinker slider. Wegman was on those staffs. Who else was on the Milwaukee Brewer team then?
You're talking about the Moose Haas days?
Yeah, a little after Moose Haas.
Santana on deck, honing his home run swing. And Tejada rolls one out to the right side. Moore with the shovel pass for the second out.
Here's the Coors Light Rockies defense. Gonzalez left, Fowler as billboards. Gonzalez has played all outfield positions. Stewart, Tulowitzki, Barmes, and Mora at first base today. And Miguel Olivo, who's taken over the #1 catching duties for the Rockies this season.
You can say the same thing about Mora. He plays all over the place.
Here's Santana, 7 hits this year, including his memorable home run.
Santana was actually an outfielder when he was a kid growing up, and can really handle the bat pretty well. Best hitting pitcher of all time? Very simple. Babe Ruth.
That's right.
He pitched 5 years as a pitcher for the Boston Red Sox before going to the Yankees. And he went to the Yankees and pitched in 5 games for the Yankees. But the rest of the time he played outfield and occasionally first base. Most home runs by a pitcher named Wes Farrell. 38 home runs.
Wow.
That didn't get him in the Hall of Fame.
Can't get in the Hall of Fame. His brother got in the Hall of Fame. Rick Farrell got in the Hall of Fame, but he caught 4 knuckleballers in one season.
People say, now, you didn't see Rick Farrell play, but you probably know people who did.
Mm-hmm.
People say that Rick Farrell is probably the least deserving Hall of Famer in terms of players who've been put in there. Do you agree with that?
I would agree with that. There are a couple more that are around the same edge, but he was being criticized when he went in the Hall of Fame. But I think catching 4 knuckleballers and not committing suicide is probably the reason he's in the Hall of Fame.
There you go. Staying power.
Let's see if I can remember the knuckleballs. One was Roger Wolf, another was Doug Slender, and let's see, what was there? 2 more. There are 2 more. Right at the moment, I can't think of it.
What year we're talking about, like 1920 somewhere?
Yeah, back in the, say, late 20s.
Behind the bag, Mora makes another play to get Santana in the inning. 1, 2, 3 for Hamill. 2 in the books at Citi Field with the Mets up 2-0. Get to Citi Field Saturday, August 21st at 8 p.m. for Billy Joel, The Last Play at Shea movie premiere. Tickets are on sale now at 507tixx.com. Jason Hamill will lead off for the Rockies in the third.
You know, one of the advantages of playing in Denver, Colorado, where it's a mile high in altitude, is the fact the ball travels about 11% farther. Now, 11% doesn't sound like much, but when you talk about it, 11% of 300 is pretty close to 100 difference. So it's a big difference. And when you play there, and I played there in exhibition games years ago when the Denver Ball Club was a minor league ball club. And when you play there, the fastball is a little bit faster and the curveball is a little less in breaking a distance.
Reyes throws out Hamill for the first out. Well, think of it this way. The gap in right center in Coors Field is 375 feet.
That is short.
Subtract 11%, you're talking about like 335.
It brings it down to around 300 feet.
I mean, that's
big difference.
Ridiculous when you think about it.
That's why they don't really put a lot of merits in that batting average there, because of the difference in the altitude and the amount of feet you gain.
Dexter Fowler takes a strike, struck out his first time up.
Only time, being a former pitcher, so did not hit. Only time I really felt that, if you ever played golf in Denver, Colorado. What a change in the club you used to hit into a green.
Well, 10% of 100 yards is a lot of distance.
And you see the difference between the Rockies' offensive numbers between their mile-high home and the mostly sea-level road.
2 runs per game difference. That's huge.
But it's always been that way for the Rockies. I mean, now there aren't as many home runs hit in Denver as there used to be because of the humidor that they use. But because the field is so large, like here at Citi Field, there's so much space for hits to land. The outfield is so huge.
I played baseball in Mexico City, which is even higher, and there the ball travels farther.
Mets played an exhibition game in Mexico City, about 10 years ago.
Is that the David Cone game?
Played a game with the Dodgers. David Cone started. The Dodgers had 30 hits.
Big difference.
30 hits.
I put on hitting exhibitions there, and I was hitting the ball over light towers. I mean, it was really fun. I enjoyed that more than anything.
I'll bet. Can you imagine if they put a major league team in Mexico City? How big would they have to build the ballpark?
It wouldn't matter because no pitchers would sign to play there.
Well, there was talk about that a few years ago, right? Expanding into Mexico City.
Well, the population factor is very, very large.
And that just missed, ball forward. Fowler's on with a 1-out walk.
You can find a lot of different things in Mexico. One time I was playing in Guadalajara in an exhibition game with Bob Fuller and his group, and they stopped the game. All of a sudden, the gates opened up in the outfield, and a little push cart on the rail car. It came right to the center of the diamond, went off the outside back, and we started the game up again. So we had to wait for that push car, with 2 guys pumping it up and down all the way till they got out of range.
Deep to left center. Beltran tracks it down. Nicely done by Carlos for the second out, and Fowler back to first.
Well, one thing about Beltran, he was criticized when he did not come up with that ball to Philadelphia, is that he went back and lazily went to the fence instead of going to the fence in a hurry and then making the jump. But he's really a very nonchalant outfielder.
That was more old Beltran right there. He got a beautiful jump, took the right angle on the baseball, and made a hard play look easy.
But you know what Ralph is saying. He's got these graceful strides, but he's not a guy who runs to the spot. It's almost like he times the ball, right,
He's
Ralph?
a timer, yes he is.
Lenny Dykstra used to do that.
Lenny did a lot of things.
Still doing things.
Not as many as he used to. Carlos Gonzalez took a call, third strike, his first time up.
Okay, we got the names of the knuckleball pitchers. Thanks a lot to the computer. A guy named Dutch Thunder, the guy named Roger Wolf. And they come back for the other two.
Gonzalez with the soft liner to end the inning. Middle of the third, Mets up 2-0. In HD, presented by IOTV. And if you're not near a TV, listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Phillies are in tomorrow night with Ari Dickey against Cole Hamels, first of 3. Before the Mets head to Houston and Pittsburgh.
Well, on the subject of pitchers, the two knuckleballers we didn't mention.
They keep interrupting you, Ralph.
Gotta stop this game. Where's that guy with the little push button? Okay, the two others are Johnny Nicklin, who was a good knuckleball pitcher, and also Mickey Hefner.
You ever face any of those guys?
1945, yes. Dutch Thunder, I saw a lot of pitch for the Cubs, and Roger Wolf for the Phillies, and he was also a very tough knuckleballer. They're all tough. Some are just tougher than the others. The main thing is whether you get it over the plate, and that's the hard part for the pitchers.
Did you cut down on your swing at all against
I did everything. I tried 42-inch bats. I did everything in the world. And that was never a very good hitter. One thing about Hoyt Wilhelm was one of the great ones of all time. Of course, he made the Hall of Fame and he pitched with the Giants. And he was something else.
Hamill handles the comebacker for Martinez for the second out. And here comes Angel Pagan, who drove in the first Met run.
Well, just a little curveball over the middle of the plate, down. Took advantage of that hole between first and second, and Pagan stays hot. The only time I think all year that we've seen Pagan without an answer was Jimenez in the first game of this series, who really just blew the ball right by him. But the breaking pitch down he's handled, the fastball away he's been able to handle. And he's always the threat of the bunt.
So if you can throw 98 with good life upstairs, you might have a chance to get him out.
This year anyway, right?
So how many guys can do that? Game now in 53 runs batted in, and it's a Yankee foul.
You know, Dave Fried was nice enough, our statistician, to get me the names of those other guys in that 87 Brewers team with Bill Wegman, Teddy Higuera, one of the most underrated left-handers of the game, Len Barker, who pitched a perfect game, Juan Nieves, who pitched a no-hitter, and Dan Plesac, who was a starter at the time before he would become a closer.
I don't remember Barker pitching for the Brewers. And I don't remember Plesac being a starter.
That's right.
Milwaukee Brewers originally were the Milwaukee Brave team. They moved it from Boston to Milwaukee.
With a little Seattle Pilots thrown in.
And then that was really a change of all kinds of stuff. Seattle was in there one time. Of course, the Braves were a great team in the 50s, and they had people like Hank Aaron, of course, and Matthews at third base. They had some Joe Adcock at first base. They had some really great players. John Logan, the pitching staff, Warren Spahn and Burdette and Spahn. Burdette threw spitballs, and Spahn threw anything he wanted.
Again, the 0-2 to Pagan, and again he fouls it off. Jason Hamill gave up hits to 3 of the first 4 batters to face him, but since has retired 7 in a row. Do you detect a pattern here?
It's a little bit like yesterday with Jeff Francis.
You know, one of the Art Feller was an outstanding pitcher for the Reds and later on for other ball clubs, and he hated to run, and he would not run. He said, running meant anything, Jesse Owens would be a 20-game winner.
Let's go 1, 2, 3. Now let's join Matt Cerrone from MetsBlog.com at the Verizon studio for a quick update on what the fans are thinking. Mets have beaten the Rockies in New York 22 of the last 26 meetings. Looked like it was going to be 23 of 26 for a while last night. But Santana, like John Neese last night and like Mike Pelfrey the night before, off to a fine start against this Colorado team that hits like crazy at home, but not so much on the road.
Although this guy hits anywhere he's at. In August, 16 for his last 34.
Tulowitzki had a base hit his first time up. 1 of 2 today against Santana.
His on-base average is better than any shortstop in Major League Baseball.
You see Tulowitzki's consistency even better on the road than at home. Pops one up. Tejada drifting out. Pagan comes in to call him off. 1 away. You know, when the Mets lineup was posted today, it had Pagan listed in left and Martinez in right, and we both looked at each other and said, oh, wait a second, that can't be right, because Pagan has been so much better in center or right than he's been in left. And it's amazing just watching his actions in right field. He looks like a different guy than he does in left.
Yeah, he's very defensive in left field, very confident in center and right, and also Martinez made a great play 2 nights ago in left field.
Melvin Mora takes a strike.
A big play for Takahashi in that 8th inning.
Diving catch in shallow left field. Very good play.
1-1 to Melvin Mora, who flied out his first time up.
You know, it's amazing. Excuse me. Go ahead. Yeah, I was going to say, it's amazing that Martinez has had so many injury problems. And baseball players have a name for that. He's got a bad body. It's a derogatory thing, but it's some players just seem to get hurt all the time.
It's like their body betrays them.
Speaking of oft-injured players, report out of Atlanta today is that Chipper Jones has a torn ACL and probably will undergo season-ending surgery, although his agent says he might seek a second opinion. But, you know, Chipper's been in and out of the lineup repeatedly over the last few years.
Yeah, that's right. But the other thing is he also is threatened that this might be his last year, and that could really put the cap on that career.
Well, here's the interesting part of that conversation. If he does have season-ending surgery and it's career-threatening as Santana strikes out Mora, it'll put the Braves in a very similar position to what the Mets were in a number of years ago with Mo Vaughn. You've got a player with 2 years left on his contract after this year who's unable to play, and you got to pay him. Now, Chipper was talking about retirement, but only if he and the Braves could reach some kind of settlement for the approximately $30 million they would owe him the next 2 years.
That do make a difference.
Yep. So that's,
how about Mo Vaughn? No, Mo Vaughn was so fat he couldn't bend over. I mean, they okayed him to play first base. He was really heavy.
But, you know, the Mets had to pay off Mo's contract because he couldn't play. And he was owed big money for a couple of years after that. Miguel Olivo struck out his first time up.
You know, Alex Rodriguez has some deferred payments coming in from Texas. And that might not work either. That's going to be something else.
Might be the most deferred of all time. Deferred in
big money.
Swing and a miss. Santana strikes out Olivo. That's 6 strikeouts in the first 4 innings for Johan. He's rolling with a 2-0 lead. Queens. Plus, find out how Mookie Wilson is giving back to the community on Mets Weekly, presented by Flat Rate Moving, Saturday at noon only on SNY. Ike Davis leads off the home fourth inning. Ike drilled a double to right center his first time up. Davis, Beltran, and Hessman due up for the Mets here in the fourth.
Well, it's hit in the first inning, that fastball up in the strike zone. And it's very interesting in this second at bat now. Hamler has gone away from that, a fastball in, and then a backdoor curveball to Ike.
And he rolls over this one. And that's the first out.
One of the things that Ike is going to have to do in his career in the major leagues is to get his hands from staying down, going down, and not coming back up. You have to have your hands up so you stay on top of the ball, and that's one of the important things you have to do. Otherwise, you're going to be very vulnerable to high fastballs. You know, the one thing about hitting is the fact you have to be able to take away pitches from the pitcher by where you stand in the batter's box and what you do with your hands. One of the great lines of all time was the fact that you're only as good as the strikes you hit. And that's one of the basic things about hitting. You have to hit strikes. And some strikes are harder to hit than the others, and those are the ones when the count is in your favor or when you're ahead in the count that you want to take so you can get a pitch that might be to your liking.
Line into right field, and Beltran's got a base hit. So Carlos, who had a sac fly his first time up, now is a one-out single.
You know, little things like, pardon me, Barry, little things like that can get you going. Now, he's hitting under 200. That's way below his lifetime average.
But, you know, I do have to say, Ralph, in his first at-bat with a sacrifice fly, he took the ball and went to left field. I think that's a big key for him from the left side. His hands are quick enough to catch up to that breaking ball and pull it. But he's always got to use the entire field because he's not strictly just a pull hitter.
Well, one thing is he's too far away from the plate to be a pull hitter. He's got to get on the plate. That's one thing that David Wright has got to change. He is so far from the plate and standing so deep in the batter's box. He cannot reach an outside curveball. The bat won't even reach that far. And until he changes, he's going to have a lot of strikeouts. Because all he's getting right now are breaking balls right on the edge of the plate or outside the plate.
Well, you're right, Ralph. 10 strikeouts in the last 15 plate appearances. Let me ask you this then. You know that. You can see that. Why is it not implemented? Or is that a collaboration between the hitting coach and the player, and they try to figure out what they're going to do?
I like that word collaboration because it is that. Some players are afraid to stand close to the plate. And so with David Wright, since he was hit in the head, has been more pulling off the ball with his shoulders. Now, when you pull off the ball, you can hit that way. Al Simmons, one of the greatest hitters of all time, used a 42-inch bat. When he opens up his shoulders, he's pulling off the ball. He's got to get closer to the plate. He's got to get up there where he can reach the outside pitch. And the only way he can do it is to fail at it and miss it or hit it to right field.
That's been down on strikes for the second out. Now, David moved further away from the plate. This was shortly after the All-Star break.
Can't believe it.
Because earlier in the season, he was in the same position that we're accustomed to seeing him, and pitchers were coming inside on him, and it just seemed as though he backed away after the break.
Well, when you're away from the plate, you would take away hitting the outside pitch. So it induces the pitchers to pitch you outside because they're smart. They know what's going on. You got to take away the pitch that gets you out. Some way you got to do it.
Ted Williams never said pitchers were smart.
Well, he said they were dumb, and that's a good thing. I happen to agree with him.
I'm in the minority
I'll
here.
tell you, if they weren't dumb, nobody would hit. I'll tell you that.
Well, think about it this way then. You know, a pitcher has got to pitch in a game. He's got to throw a baseball 100 times to a specific spot. All you guys got to do is swing the bat, and you have a whole acres of field to work with to get ahead.
But you got 8 guys out there helping you out.
Some are not as good as others.
Right. Well, the thing is, you got to get some pretty good players. That's what you got to get.
Hamill ahead on Tolle 0-2. Jason Hamill really pounding the strike zone today.
You know, there are a lot of ways to hit. Now, a lot of hitters can drive into the ball. They jump into the ball, and they can hit the ball outside the right field. Keith Hernandez did that well as the left-hand batter. He would drive into the ball. But the whole thing is, got to be able to drive in the ball. If you can't do that, you got to do something else.
Beltran going first to third on Tolle's base hit. And Josh on 0-2, hooking one into right. And the Mets have runners at the corners with 2 down.
Well, nice job by Tolle, who every time he plays in the game just never seems overmatched. A breaking ball down route that is able to hook into right field.
You know, he's one of the old-time hitters. He shows up in the bat, he puts the bat in the ball, he tries to keep him striking out.
What was impressive about that, we've seen Beltran make a nice catch in left center field. That ball was right at him. He had to stop and let it go over his head, and then had the ability to go first to third and show the kind of speed that I haven't seen since he started playing.
So a chance for the number 8 hitter, Tejada, with first and third and 2 out. Tejada grounded out to Mora his first time up. And he strokes one into right field, but Spilborghs is there to make the catch. So Tejada hit it well, but Spilborghs well placed, and the Mets strand 2 in the bottom of the 4th. On to the 5th, 2-0 Mets. On top of his game this afternoon, 2 hits, a walk, 6 strikeouts through the first 4 innings. Angel Pagan and Carlos Beltran each drove in first inning runs. Jason Hamill's been throwing strikes, and he has done a terrific job since the Mets got those 2 in the first, and now Santana trying to make those runs stand up as he takes on the lower third of the order. Ian Stewart blooped a single to left center his first time up. One and one to Stewart with Clint Barmas on deck, and then Jason Hamill in the 5th. You don't see many road uniforms with pinstripes.
Yeah. I happen to like their other road uniform with the cutoff sleeves and the black tops. It's a nice look.
don't so much like their purple jerseys. Because they look like their mascot. The little dinosaur.
That's
Dinger.
right.
Yeah.
Anytime you go for the purple, Gary, you have Barney problems, you know?
Yep. Well, that's exactly right. I like the way Ubaldo Jimenez filled out his uniform selection with the old-fashioned stirrup socks.
That's right.
You don't see much of that these days outside of Jamie Moyer. Popped up by Kessman, making the call, coming in. And Stewart retired one away. Well, there's the Rockies bench coach, Don Baylor, former Rockies manager, former Mets coach, and terrific player in his time. Today's legendary opponent, brought to you by Cabot Wood Stains.
Well, look at those numbers. Real imposing guy to face. I'm telling you, people out there, he used to stand, as you were talking about before, Ralph, right on the plate.
That's the way to stand. So did Frank Robinson. And if you can do it, it's certainly the best way. You take away the outside pitch, which is the best pitch a pitcher can make. And the one thing is that you give him that outside pitch, and you have real problems. Taylor also was hit by more pitches than anybody in the history of the game.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that because you have to have no fear if you're going to be right on the plate. And Frank Robinson and Don Baylor did not have any fear. But it allows you, what Ralph was talking about, you take away the outside pitch. Now the outside pitch is right in the middle of your bat. It's not on the end of your bat.
That's right.
So you can make a perfect pitch on the outside corner, and they can take you over the left field wall.
So the question is, how, as a hitter who stands on top of the plate, Ralph, do you handle that inside pitch?
Well, that's the whole thing. Now, when you do that, when you get on top of the plate and you take it away outside, the main thing is you got to have good hands, and you got to get your hands ahead of your bat and get out there so you don't pull the ball foul when it's inside. But those are the things you have to be able to do. And if you can't do them, you can't hit that way. You have to find some other way to go about it. But some of your great hitters, and Ted Williams was on top of the plate. I was on top of the plate, and there's no question about it. When I moved up there on top of the plate, and Killebrew I talked to, and he did that same thing. Over 500 home runs. The whole thing is to take away anything the pitcher has an advantage doing when he's pitching to you. And you have to move around.
Santana gets Hamill looking for his 7th strikeout over the first 5 innings. Halfway through, 2-0 New York. series with 3 different teams.
That's not easy, is it?
No. I believe there's a guy who's done it the last 3 years.
You got to be traded a lot. That's the main thing. And usually you don't get traded that much.
It's got to be a guy who's not a frontline player. And that's why I'm thinking of this guy who's now in the Mets division.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
2-0 to Santana. And he might have a shot of getting there again this year.
There's another guy that was an everyday player, though. I wonder if he did it. And he was he plays for Cincinnati.
Out to center field. Fowler with plenty of room. I think Santana's going to get his second home run out there. That's the first out.
Him and Moore are talking.
I think the other guy we might have already referenced today.
Okay.
Could be a pinch hitter.
Hey, Ralph, you were talking about standing on the plate. The one thing I wanted to ask you, though, in today's game, it's much easier. Take Barry Bonds 2 seasons ago. You can have all the pads on your elbows and wrists or whatever you want or need, so you don't have the fear of losing any time to injury.
That's right. I agree with that, and I think it's wrong. I don't think you should be allowed to wear pads in your arms. And Bonds got hit a lot because he hung right over the top of the plate, and he took away you can't worry about 2 sides of the plate. You got to worry about one, and you can handle that. You can't worry about both sides of the plate.
You know who worries about both sides of the plate, Ralph? 220 hitters.
That's right. Because you're not going to guess right. And basically it is anticipation. You know how pitches is supposed to pitch and how he pitches you, and you have to anticipate that approach to hitting you. You hit it against him that way.
2 out for Fernando Martinez, who's 0 for 2 today.
Now he's wide open and away from the plate. Yeah, he gets hit, jammed with that pitch on inside, and he pulls a foul, and does he break the bat? Yes.
Almost when you open up as a hitter,
you got to close.
You have to close. If you don't close, then you've taken away. Every time you hit a ball inside, it's always going to be foul.
It's like hitting a slice and golf.
Golf, there you go.
You open up to hit a slice, and you want to close up there to hook. It's golf and baseball is somewhat similar.
Martinez caught looking to end the inning. Ralph, we got a lot of insight out of you today. Fascinating talking about hitting.
You know, you can talk about it and you can make sense, but the same thing to do it is difficult.
Thanks, Ralph. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Gary.
Ralph Kiner joining us in the Ralph Kiner broadcast booth. Dexter Fowler leading off the 6th inning and takes up an in from Johan Santana. A ball and a strike. Fowler has struck out and walked today, 0 for 1. Top of the batting order, 3rd time around for Santana, who's allowed just 2 hits this afternoon over the first 5. And Fowler pops one up, shallow right center. In comes Pagan to call, 1 away. 9 in a row set down by Santana, who is just cruising today.
You know what's interesting is that watching Tolley today catch Santana. Now Santana, when he's on top of his game, which is obvious today, he's a very accurate pitcher. Where you call for the pitch, you're going to get it within that quadrant. And you don't see Tolley really picking at the ball or jabbing at the ball. He looks very confident in framing the pitch, which we haven't seen as much in the past. Like that.
So you're saying because the pitcher is so reliable, it makes the catcher relax.
And confident. Doesn't have anxiety. It's almost like he's sitting in a rocking chair in the backyard.
One and one to Ryan Spilborghs. And he fouls it away. Well, Santana threw 7 1/3 scoreless innings against the Phillies in his last outing on Saturday. Got 5 1/3 more under his belt today. He allowed just 1 run in his last 6 innings in Atlanta the start before that. On the inside corner, strike 3 called. That's 8 strikeouts for Johan. And he's set down 10 in a row. 2 out.
When he is getting this pitch, the fastball at the knees, inside corner, framed by Tolley, he's as good as it gets.
By the way, might also want to mention rookie umpire behind the plate today, DJ Rayburn, and he's had a good day so far.
He's had a great day, and I will tell you, as I got to be a veteran pitcher, whenever they had a younger umpire, you always felt as though a guy like Santana is going to get that little extra respect from a young umpire.
Here's Carlos Gonzalez, and it misses up and away. Gonzalez has taken a call 3rd strike and hit a soft liner to 2nd. Rayburn, only a brief major league experience, 3 years, but not as a regular, only as a vacation call-up.
I think we should explain that. You see 3 years all the time, but it's just a handful of games.
Well, they bring up these AAA umpires to fill in when the veteran umpires go on vacation. And there's a strike, 2 and 1. Mets have done a good job against Gonzalez so far. He came into this series as hot as anybody in the game, but he's gone just 1 for 10 in these 3 games. A little bit of light drizzle falling in the ballpark as Gonzalez pulls a base hit into right center. Pagan gets over quickly, and Gonzalez will settle for a 2-out single. Just the 3rd hit off Johan. And that'll get Tulowitzki to the plate as the tying run. View of the umbrellas opening up. Not raining hard at all, just a little light drizzle. Certainly everybody anticipated coming to the ballpark today.
What's the etiquette of the umbrella at the game? I mean, you have people behind you, right?
You got to keep it low. There are certain ballparks, Florida is among them, where umbrellas are banned.
So you got to wear a poncho or something.
You got to bring the poncho to the game.
I don't see you as an umbrella man in your day. You were just pulled your lid down tighter, right?
Well, no, the problem is I like to score every game. And if you don't have the umbrella or something, your scorecard gets a little messy. But there's definitely umbrella etiquette. Good changeup by Santana, 1-1 to Tulowitzki. Now, football games, that's not the story.
Yes.
You don't care. There's no scoring.
That's right.
There's just a lot of yelling.
People stand up a lot at the football games.
With Hessman playing back, Tulowitzki showing bunt. But I would think with 2 out, tying run at the plate, he's got to be swinging.
That's a bad choice there for Tulowitzki. I know that, you know, if they give you a base hit, you're supposed to take it. But why put the onus on Melvin Moore, although he came through last night with a grand slam? Tulowitzki is a guy for Jim Tracy that can hit a 2-run home run and get you tied.
The old saying was, let George do it. I don't think Tulowitzki's a let George do it kind of guy.
No.
That was always the criticism of Wade Boggs when he was in his heyday. That when he was up in RBI situations, he'd be more likely to take a walk and leave it to the next guy. There's a high strike to Tulowitzki, 3-2.
Also, there was always a choice with Boggs because a lot of people think of Wade Boggs as a guy just hit for high average. Pretty good pitch there. But he was also the kind of guy that wanted to hit for a high average and never wanted to sacrifice by hitting a few home runs. Wade Boggs is every bit of 6 foot, 6'1", 230 pounds.
And one year he decided to hit home runs, and he hit, what, 24?
Yep.
Gonzalez set to run, 3-2 to Tulowitzki, and he fouls it off. He'll survive to see another changeup.
Totally telling everyone that the runner's going. You're right, Gary, another changeup.
And he struck him out. Well, Santana's changeup has been marvelous all day, and it's helped him to 9 strikeouts through the first 6 innings. Home 6th inning against Jason Hamill. Last night the Mets scored 2 runs in the first inning. Hoped it would hold up, but it didn't. Today they scored 2 runs in the first inning. It has held up to this point for Johan Santana. Pagan drove in the first Met run with a first inning single. And he takes ball 1 from Jason Hamill. The Mets have had 2 base runners since the first inning. Last night they had 1 base runner after the first inning.
That's right. The first inning has been walked, but after that, only the Blanco hit.
What did Yogi Berra say? It's like deja vu all over again.
That's right.
And it's 3-0 to Pagan. So Hamill, who has been throwing vastly more strikes than balls all day, for a rare time behind in the count with Ike Davis on deck and then Beltran. There's a strike, 3-1. Pagan yesterday hit his career best 10th home run. And now it's 3-2.
People are probably asking, what's Pagan asking the umpire? He's asking the umpire, is that as low as the strike zone goes? He either gets a yes or no from Rayburn.
Gets under one into right center field. And Spilborns drifts over, gives way to Fowler. And there's one away. Let's check in with the studio. Gary Apple standing by with the New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. All right, thanks very much, Gary. Here's Ike Davis, who's doubled and grounded out 1 for 2. Of course, the big news of the day, as far as the Mets are concerned, occurred off the field last night with the arrest of Francisco Rodriguez on assault charges, and the Mets today placing K-Rod on the restricted list for 2 days. He will not be paid for those 2 days and be replaced on the roster by Ryota Igarashi, and still waiting for some kind of update on K-Rod's situation. Last we heard, he was still in the holding cell here at Citi Field. Don't know if he's been removed and taken to court to be arraigned, and what's going to happen from there, and what further reaction, if any, the Mets are going to have still remains to be seen. Bouncing away from Davis, and it's 2-1. Carlos Beltran on deck. And a fastball strike. Well, in case you missed any of the details from last night's incident involving K-Rod, our Kevin Burkhardt was on the scene as it happened. Kevin, it had to be a very difficult experience for everybody who was around it.
Well, it was interesting in the sense that, you had to piece it together. I mean, for the most part, for a little while, we were trying to figure out what happened because Frankie was in the clubhouse, angry, lashed out at a couple of reporters, went behind closed doors. A few minutes later, we saw security and police go behind closed doors. So what happened, though, is that after the game, Frankie went to the trainer's room, and after a visit there, went to the family lounge, which is a little bit down the hall from the Mets clubhouse. And that's where, from what I was told, he had a little bit of an argument with his wife, who was in the family room. And at that point, Frankie's father-in-law got involved, and then Frankie and his father-in-law got in an altercation. Bad enough that Frankie's father-in-law had to be taken away by ambulance around 11 o'clock last night. At that point, that's when Rodriguez came back to the clubhouse and then lashed out at a couple of reporters, myself included, just asked him, about talking about not pitching in that game last night for that 4-out save. So that's when he cleaned up his stuff, went out the doors, headed towards the players' lot, but he was cut off by security and police. And he's been detained here at Citi Field ever since. I had not heard a report that he had left yet. Initially, guys, he had an arraignment scheduled in the Queens Criminal Court for 11 this morning, but it's been pushed back, and there's still no word on that. I think maybe the most disturbing part of this whole thing for me is that he did this in the family room with players' families and kids involved. Carlos Beltran was up now. His wife was, from what I was told, pretty shaken after the incident. His little girl was there as well. Jose Reyes had his wife and 2 kids there as well. Pedro Feliciano's little boy was there. I mean, that is a bad scene to be doing that at all, let alone in front of all these kids and wives that had to sit there and witness that. And that's where I think it kind of blurs the line. I know this is a non-baseball thing, but it is, because it happened here and it happened with all those parties involved, all those parties to see it in plain day. So that's the scoop. And still no word again on what's going on about the court appearance, guys.
All right, Kevin, and we'll obviously be following that story in the hours and days to come. This is a team that's taken a lot of hits this year on the field, and now increasingly over the last week off the field as well. Pulled toward the hole. Barmes knocks it down and makes the rolling throw, but not in time. Quite an effort by Clint Barmes, but Beltran beats it out for an infield hit.
Well, it gets caught underneath his chest, reaches and makes a very athletic play to just get it to first base. And Beltran, we mentioned, has been running extremely well today. Just seems to get his foot on the base right before it hits the glove of Mora. Boy, that's bang bang. Tie goes to the runner.
Well, Beltran, who had been struggling so mightily, 2 for 2 with a sacrifice fly today. And the Mets have a 2-out base runner for Mike Hessman. Hessman has flied out and struck out 0 for 2.
You know, guys, with K-Rod and the whole clubhouse, stuff, how it affects the clubhouse, talking to a lot of the players today on the state of the clubhouse and what they feel about it. And, I asked Jeff Francoeur, does it feel like this clubhouse has started to break apart? And he said, well, no, but it could easily go that way if things don't turn around. I mean, you try to separate the incident from baseball and family, and that's what it is. But still, it just feels like kind of on the brink. Saw it last night with David's frustration boiling over in the dugout, things like that.
Well, when you're not playing well,
yeah,
I mean, it exacerbates anything else that happens.
It doesn't matter how close you are, how many guys like to have dinner with each other. After a while, if you're not having success on the field, that's certainly going to tear down relationships because you're counting on each other. And when you have a team that's only a 500 team, you're not always coming through.
Well, then there's the other piece, which is that as long as you're a contending team, Beltran runs, and it's hit out to center field by Hessman, and Fowler will be there to grab it for the 3rd out. As long as you're contending, there's a reason for everybody to pull together. Once you're out of contention, it's every man for himself. Here at Citi Field or stop by a location near you. Subway, a proud sponsor of the New York Mets on SNY. Eat fresh. Johan Santana has struck out 9 over the first 6 innings. He has fanned as many as 11 this year. That was 2 starts back in a losing effort against the Braves. He has shut out the Rockies over 3 hits so far this afternoon. Nolan Moore leads off and swings through a fastball. Moore has flied to center and struck out 0 for 2. With K-Rod unavailable today and now on this restricted list, you would have to think that Santana has in his mind that he'd like to go 9. Now, whether he'll be able to do that, that was his 87th pitch of the afternoon. It's going to depend in part on how he goes in the 7th and 8th.
If he just has normal innings, which usually means around 15 pitches per inning, that gets him to $115 after 8. So, that's going to be his. I mean, Santana's given more leeway as far as maybe being able to tell. Remember earlier in the season, Jerry went out to see him, and he said, I can finish this up, and he did. Complete game shutout.
He has had enough games that he deserved to win taken away from him this year, that especially on this day, I would think that he would get the leeway to continue if he feels he's able.
And great pitchers know the moment. The moment calls for something extraordinary while everything else is kind of falling down.
Where Santana's had his own off-field problems to deal with this week, with the revelation of the lawsuit filed by the woman who was accusing him of sexual assault after police declined to press charges. So that's been in the news as well, and certainly has not helped the overall feel around this ball club over the last week.
They've had enough to deal with on the field, and now it feels like things are beginning to crack when you start to have things off the field also affect the ball club.
In the air to right center field, and Pagan moves over. And there's another piece to that, too. And that's not just the performance of the team and what happens inside the clubhouse. It's the public perception of the team and the organization. And I know that ownership and management is very cognizant of that. And, I think will be very sensitive to the way all this gets viewed in the public realm. Beyond, not only within the baseball world, but even beyond that.
Yeah. Your overall product, right?
Mm-hmm. Here's Miguel Olivo, who struck out in both of his at-bats that he takes inside. Randy Flores up in the Colorado bullpen. And I think that was reflected in the quote from Jeff Wilpon about the K-Rod incident. And they take this stuff very seriously, especially in K-Rod's case because of the venue in which it occurred. It occurred in their house.
Yes.
Back, and it's 1-2 to Olivo.
Who thought that we've been talking so much, Gary, about the problem with the 8th inning? Well, now you have a problem with the 8th and 9th.
Well, what you hope for is somebody to emerge and step forward the way Johan Santana is stepping forward today. Reyes on the charge, throws out Olivo, 2 out. So with 2 out and nobody on, Ian Stewart comes to the plate. Stewart has a bloop single, and he's popped to third, 1 for 2.
This score doesn't change. The Mets on the verge of scoring 5 runs in this series and maybe winning 2 of them.
I think it was 1968. There have been eras with this franchise where the pitching was good enough that if you scored 2 runs, you had a pretty good chance to win. Stewart lifts one out to center field. Beltran ambling back. And the side retired. 1, 2, 3 for Santana. 7th inning stretch, and Johan still in command.
Linsky, right?
There you go. And Don Baylor was the other. Linsky, of course, was with the Yankees last year.
86 with the Red Sox for Baylor, 87 with the Minnesota Twins.
Weekdays on SNY, get on the New York Sports Local. It's your direct line to the day's top New York sports stories, straight from a team of diverse personalities as passionate about New York sports as you are. Daily News Live, Wheelhouse, and Loudmouths, all part of the New York Sports Local. Weekdays starting at 5 on SNY.
And 88 with the Oakland A's.
Did I interrupt you?
We got to get the.
You were on the Express and I was on the Local.
I always take the 7 Express. I guess you want to stop at Junction Boulevard.
Josh Tolle has one of the Mets' 6 hits today. He singled to right in the 4th. Jason Hamill gave up 2 runs in the first, but he's been solid ever since, just trying to hang around long enough to keep his team in the game. Tolle, Tejada, and Santana up for the Mets. Santana had 97 pitches through 7 innings, so you know he's getting the 8th. And hopefully the 9th as well. Still a little light drizzle falling, but not anything that's impacting the game. And a good breaking ball by Hamill to get Tolle, who is tough to strike out. Strikeout number 4 for Hamill.
And 2 for Tolle, so to tell you how good of a breaking ball Hamill has. The only problem Hamill has occasionally is that he'll come into a game and get behind hitters, and then he's not able to use that weapon. Not today.
Ruben Tejada. Ruben is grounded out and lined to right 0 for 2. By the way, we were talking about Wade Boggs before. Wade Boggs had 4 straight years in which he had over 200 hits and over 100 walks.
Yeah, his on-base percentage off the hook.
1988, he had 214 hits and 125 walks, a 476 on-base percentage. In fact, 86 through 89, these were his on-base percentages. 453, 461, 476, 430. Led the league each year.
In the first game of the World Series, I faced Wade Boggs, and Mel Stottlemyre with the scouting report before the game said, hey, listen, this guy's going to foul off a lot of pitches. Don't get frustrated. This is where we're going to work him. And in one of the at-bats, I threw 3 straight pitches right down the middle, took all 3 for a strikeout. I was like, how did that happen? And I think he just assumed that on the 0-2 pitch I would throw something out of the strike zone.
Boggs went 0 for 4 that day. But you already knew that.
You know I don't express that kind of stuff. I mean, that's 0 for 4 one day, could be 4 for 4 the next day. You never know. Because I think he definitely got a hit off me in Game 7.
Well, Game 4, up against you, he went 0 for 5. So there you go. And then he was 1 for 4 in Game 7.
Yeah, bullet. Second time up.
Seems like he had 2 or 3 hits in every other game in that series. So you had your moments against Boggs there.
I had chicken too for lunch.
Even things up a little bit. 3-2. Check swing. Tejada held it in time, and he's aboard with a 1-out walk. First walk of the day issued by Hamill. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Pepsi Refresh Project. Every time you choose Pepsi, you support the Pepsi Refresh Project. By Toshiba. And by Cadillac. Visit CadillacTristate.com. Santana up there looking to bunt with Tejada at first and 1 out. Johan, after 7 1/3 scoreless against the Phillies on Saturday, 7 scoreless today. Right on top of his game. With that one start where he gave up 7 runs recently. Tejada runs and Santana drives one into center field. A hit-and-run single. How about that? Tejada to third, first and third and 1 out.
I honestly think they should do this more with Santana. There are times when he starts a ball game, he could be the best athlete you have on the field. The Butcher Boy play, the hit and run, trying to generate some offense on a team that struggled after the All-Star break. A nice top hand coming over the top of that ball. They keep it a line drive.
Bob Apodaca, the Rockies pitching coach, on his way out to talk to Hamill. No action in the Rockies bullpen as yet.
Gary, that might be the second time in this series that the Rockies have been victimized in a bunting situation. Jimenez in the first game thought Tolley was bunting, threw something down the middle. Josh got his double over the head of the right fielder Hop, and right here, I'm sure that Hamill had to think Santana was bunting. Throw that first pitch strike, make a play.
It's true in baseball as it's true in life. Never assume.
There you go. Nice jump by Tejada. Pulled the bat back, and beautiful line drive. Just so appealing to watch this kind of baseball.
So Ian Stewart was standing. He's thinking, I'm glad I have my teeth. That's right. He was standing 40 feet away from the hitter, and he takes that big rip. Check with your dentist. Here's Reyes. Now the infield is back at double play depth. Awfully tough to double up Reyes from the left side. Rockies already down 2-0. And Reyes drives one toward the middle. Base hit. That brings home Tejada with the Mets' third run. Santana goes first to third. An RBI single for Jose Reyes, and it's 3-0 New York.
Well, you love to see this kind of baseball from the Mets. Aggressive swinging from Jose Reyes on the first pitch. With the infield in a little bit, no chance for Tulowitzki to make that play. And Santana's an athlete, I told you already. Kind of frees him for that line drive. Makes the turn. A little stumble here and there, but has enough speed. In our IOTV pitch differential, the great thing about Reyes, he pulls those hands in and just able to get the head of the bat to that ball that misses on the other side of the plate.
RBI number 42 for Reyes, is second in this series. Hamill thinking that Reyes might go on first movement. Does the third to first look. Fernando Martinez has gone 0 for 3 today. Has not had the ball out of the infield.
After that move by the pitcher, this would be a great time for a suicide squeeze. You don't usually do it with your pitcher on third.
Reyes runs and Martinez lifts one to right field. Back goes Spilborghs as Santana tags. Reyes goes back to first base. Santana comes in to score. It's a sacrifice fly for Martinez, and the Mets lead 4-0.
What a nice at bat by the young Martinez. Just gets to that inside fastball from Hamill. Small ball mini inning for the Mets. Reyes, of course, recognizes that it's a fly ball to right field. Gets back.
First run batted in this season for Fernando Martinez. He had 8 last year. So now the Mets have a 4-run cushion. And here's Pagan with Reyes at first with 2 out. And they're going to appeal at second base.
Thinking if Reyes did touch the bag and did not retouch coming back.
There you go. I'm not sure he ever got to second, did he?
I think he got there, but he never went past the bag.
Take a look here. Gets to second. Does not go past the bag. So he was clean. So now Pagan, who drove in the first Met run back in the opening inning. As Hamill steps off and takes a look. Reyes has already stolen a base today. His 22nd of the year. As we mentioned back in that first inning, Hamill has not done a good job this year holding base runners. 14 steals and 17 tries against him. And he's pretty certain that Reyes is thinking about running here. Heavy lifting against Reyes. Manny Corpus, the right-hander. Randy Flores, the left-hander. Up in the Colorado bullpen.
Well, Hamels has had a lot to worry about. That was interesting. When he did the appeal play, he stepped off like you're supposed to. He said to the umpire, I'm going to appeal. And he was going to throw to third base. But Stewart pointed, no, we're appealing at second base to Reyes, not Santana.
He had Santana coming home on the sacrifice fly. Maybe they thought he left early. Well, Apple's yet to throw a pitch.
So this is the only problem. Watch Reyes' left foot. It does go past the bag, but he's saved because his right foot stayed on the bag as he pushed off. If his right foot had been straddling the bag, he would have been an error there, and he could have been called out.
And now a balk is called. A balk on Hamill. So after all that work, Reyes ends up at second base anyway. Second balk of the season for Hamill.
Hamill doesn't know what he wants to do, moving that arm, turns toward Reyes. And as he wanted to step back, kind of tripped over that mound. Watch that back foot. So he just kind of fell off that mound. It looked so awkward, it became a balk.
So a runner in scoring position. Reyes stealing third. Olivo's throw is way too late. And Reyes has his second stolen base of the day. Normally you don't steal third with 2 out, but Reyes was going to steal second, so I figured he might as well steal third.
Well, Hamill now is totally discombobulated on the mound. Didn't even pay any attention to Reyes, so Reyes said, if you're going to take it, just take it. Give it to me, I'll take it.
So Hamill, who was so concerned about keeping Reyes at first, now has him at third. And Pagan takes a strike, and it's 0-2. Virgil already with a hit today with a runner in scoring position. He's been the best on the club all year. Mike Davis would be next.
I do have to say, I've only got to see Hamill throw a couple of times now. Despite being on the losing end of the score, pretty impressive.
Hamill won his last start in Pittsburgh. He had lost his previous 3 decisions after winning 6 in a row earlier this year. Slow ground ball, and Stewart comes in to grab it. And throws out Pagan to end the inning. But the Mets add 2 runs and lead it 4-0. He's always been known as a second half pitcher, and he is really kicking it into gear here in the second half of this season. Santana in line for his 10th win of the season as Clint Varmus leads off in the 8th inning. Johan now with 14 1/3 consecutive scoreless innings under his belt. Varmus is 0 for 2. He's popped up and grounded out. And he lifts this one out to right field, an easy one for Angel Pagan. And there's one away. Let's check in with Gary Apple. He's standing by with a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. All right, Gary. Braves have the day off today. Here's Seth Smith to pinch hit for Jason Hamill. And he takes a strike. Santana just threw his 100th pitch of the afternoon. And with the goal clearly today to go 9, he's within range of doing that. 5 outs to go. Gets ahead on Smith, 0-2.
Santana were to win this game, you see Randy Flores in the bullpen for the Colorado Rockies, he would go to 64-20. Best winning percentage in the second half ever.
Swing and a miss. He got him with a changeup. 10 strikeouts for Johan Santana.
Just really threw this ball right by Smith coming off the bench.
Second time in his last 3 starts, he's gotten to double digits in strikeouts. Get to Citi Field as the series with the NL East rival Phillies begins tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. Get the best seats direct from the Mets at Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX, and there are your Mercedes probables. R.A. Dickey trying to bounce back from his worst start of the year his last time out, up against Cole Hamels. Dexter Fowler 0 for 2 with a walk, 1 for 11 in the series. Santana has now retired 16 of the last 17 batters to face him. The only blemish in that time, a 2-out single by Carlos Gonzalez in the 6th.
Going to his fastball more here, despite getting behind Fowler, who's already walked once today.
You see that second half winning percentage. 3-1 now to Fowler. By the way, the 10 strikeouts today for Johan, the 49th time in his career that he has had 10 or more. Second time this year. And he walks Fowler for the second time. The only 2 walks he's given up today. So the Rockies have a 2-out base runner with Ryan Spilborghs coming up. Spilborghs 0 for 3 and he struck out twice. And bullpen crickets. Johan has already thrown a complete game shutout this year. That was a 3-hitter against the Reds back on July the 6th. Spilborghs fouls off the first offering.
An interesting game watching Santana and Tolley work together. You haven't seen any of those visits back and forth from catcher to pitcher.
And the changeup is lifted to left. Fernando Martinez circling it under it. And so Santana threw 8 with a shutout intact. 4-0 New York. and taken off presumably to court to be arraigned on assault charges. Frankie spent, I guess, about 16 hours in that holding cell here at Citi Field before finally being taken out, we're told, about 15-20 minutes ago, and taken off presumably to head to court. Randy Flores will pitch the bottom of the 8th inning for Colorado after 7 good innings out of Jason Hamill. Not good enough the way Santana's pitched today.
Well, the bullpen for Colorado has been outstanding in this series. Randy Flores, one of the twin left-handers in baseball. He's pitched for a variety of teams. St. Louis.
There's another look at K-Rod being helped into the back of that police vehicle. Ike Davis leads off the last of the 8th inning, and he grounds the first pitch from Flores foul. Ike had a double as the Mets were putting up 2 runs back in the first inning. Probably would have had an RBI, but it bounced into the visitors' bullpen out in deep right center. And Pagan had to stop at third. Pagan later scored on a sac fly by Beltran. And the Mets were up 2-0 early. And unlike last night when the lead melted down, today it has expanded and Santana has done the rest. Johan with 110 pitches through 8 innings, and there is not a hint of action in the Mets bullpen. He's going out there looking for his 2nd complete game of the year. Takahashi, who pitched each of the last 3 games for the Mets, just watching. Manny Corpus stays busy in the Colorado bullpen.
Randy Flores, you got to like how his career has gone. Walk on at USC, became their career winner with 42 wins. Pitched for Texas, 2nd time around Colorado, and in St. Louis for 5 seasons.
His brother Ron has pitched in the major leagues as well. I think they were teammates at one point in Oakland. Taking inside, it's 2-2. Davis, Beltran, and Hessman due up for the Mets here in the bottom of the 8th. And the slider off the plate, 3-2. Jason Hamill threw 107 pitches over 7 innings. Allowed 4 runs, 8 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. And on the hook. 3-2. And Davis takes it on the outside corner, strike 3 call. I didn't think so. DJ Rayburn punches him out, 1 away. Let's take a look at who's in the Haynes comfort zone today. Here's Beltran, who's had a very good day today. At the plate and in the field. Sacrifice fly to drive in a run in the 1st. Single to right in the 4th, and an infield hit in the 6th. 2 for 2. And now he pulls one down the left field line, and that's a base hit going to the corner. Well, Carlos Beltran having his best day this season. 3 for 3.
3 for 3 with a sacrifice fly. Very quick inside with those hands on a little cutter from Flores. Nice swing by Carlos.
Mets can only hope that it's a sign of things to come. Now we'll get a pitching change with the right-hand hitter Hessman due up. Jim Tracy walking slowly out to the mound. He's got the right-hander Manny Corpus ready, and Corpus is coming on in. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln Mercury. That's leading 4-0. We'll be right back. Mike Hessman takes the first pitch from Manny Corpus, low and away.
Well, Manny Corpus has had an interesting run with the Rockies. In 2007, really his second year in the big leagues, he was the guy that was the closer late in that season when they won 22 of 23. 19 saves that season. They've dropped to 4 the season after, and only 1 last season as he's kind of fell out of favor in Colorado.
Hessman pulls one foul.
That's one of those contracts, Gary, that people always talk about. Tie your good players up for an extended period of time. It'll take them through free agency. That's what Colorado did with Manny Corpus, and it didn't work as well.
The caveat to that is that the least predictable position in Major League Baseball is relief pitcher.
From year to year, especially.
Hessman pulls one down the left field line. Just foul. So Mike bidding for an extra base hit. And missed by that much.
Wow.
Missed it by that much.
I always think it gets smart when we're walking through the bowels of the stadium where they have those doors that go up intermittently as you approach them.
You know who does the best Don Adams imitation? Howie Rose.
Really?
Well, don't they sound alike?
That's right. I guess I'll get him on the next plane.
Here's the 1-2. Just off the corner with a fastball. 2-2. Manny Corpus, native of Panama, 27 years old. But it's really true. I mean, if you have a young starting pitcher or a young position player who you think is going to be a star, you lock them up early. Relief pitchers are a whole different proposition. I mean, really, how many guys in the modern game have had a career where they've done 10 years of predictable results, or even 5 years? I mean, look at Eric Gagne. Best pitcher in the game, best relief pitcher in the game for 2 years.
84 straight games.
Has been down to the breaking ball. So Corpus has a strikeout. 2 out of the inning. Get a preview of tomorrow's Mets series opener against the Phillies in Queens with constantly updated insider info and insight on Mets blog presented by Verizon. Featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Josh Toley will be shown some respect. He'll be walked intentionally, and so Corpus will get to take on his countryman, Ruben Tejada. Not too often you get Panamanians facing each other because there aren't that many in the game.
Football's their game, right? Soccer.
Well, I mean, there have been some stars from Panama. Obviously, Mariano Rivera.
That's right.
Rod Carew was from Panama.
That's right.
So 2 aboard, and Tejada still looking for his first hit since returning from the minors. Had a walk and scored a run in the 7th inning. But he's 0 for 13 since being called back up.
He's going to be an interesting project this winter, isn't he? As the Mets look to try to increase his offensive productivity, because I think I've seen enough. Maybe they haven't, but I think you've seen enough defensively and instinctually what he can do on the baseball field.
Unquestionably. Grounded down to third. Easy force play for Stewart, and that ends the inning. To the 9th, Santana going for the shutout when we come back. Views, highlights, and recaps of everything New York sports on Geico Sports Night tonight at 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. only on SNY. Johan Santana earlier this year against Cincinnati picked up his 10th career complete game and his 7th career shutout. We'll try and get through the heart of the Rockies order to add to that total today. Carlos Gonzalez with the third baseman Hessman playing back shows bunt 1-0. Gonzalez singled to right center. He has the last hit against Santana. That was in the 6th. And the only hit against Santana since the 2nd inning. Broken bat liner. Reyes positioned perfectly for the first out. Let's check in with the studio. See what's coming up on Lincoln Mercury postgame live with Gary Apple and Bobby Ojeda. All right, guys, we'll check in with you after the game. Here's Troy Tulowitzki with 1 out, and he takes it up and away for ball 1. Tulowitzki 1 for 3, single to left back in the 2nd. Since then, he's flied out and struck out. Line drive, base hit. And Tulowitzki has his 2nd hit of the game, the 4th of the afternoon for the Rockies. Santana's now at 114 pitches. His season high was 123 in San Diego. His career high 125 in his win over the Cubs the last week of 2008. Then he came back on 3 days rest and shut out the Marlins in his last start of 08. Melvin Moore pulls one to third. Hessman to second for one. Tejada to first. Double play and the ball game is over. Johan Santana with a 4-hit shutout. His 2nd shutout of the season, the 8th of his career. Another brilliant effort by Johan Santana as the Mets take the rubber game of the series with the Rockies 4-0.
Well, a crazy day here today, made much simpler by Johan Santana. 9-inning shutout. That's his 4th in the Mets uniform, 8th total. 7th time he's won in double figures. An outstanding game for the Mets today. 2 innings, scoring 2 runs, gets them the 4-0 victory.
115 pitches. He walked only 1. He struck out 10. His 2nd double-digit strikeout performance of the year and the 49th of his career. And on a day when the Mets had all sorts of distractions off the field, Santana put the focus on the mound and on himself, and he was tremendous today. Here's your out-of-game summary. Santana gets his 10th win. 7th time this year he's gone at least 7 innings without allowing a run. That's more than anybody else in the major leagues this season. Carlos Beltran had his best offensive day since coming off the disabled list. 3 for 3 with a sacrifice fly as the Mets get back to 500 for the season with a 4-0 win over the Rockies. Santana with the 4-hit shutout, and the Mets are a winner today. Back to Citi Field in a moment.